All right, folks, welcome to my channel. This is Political Civilian, and of course, as a political channel, or a channel that's leaning more into politics, we're going to be starting this off by basically talking about what do I think my predictions on the presidential debate. As of the time of recording this is 9:40 on Thursday, June 27th, 2024. And I have a couple predictions. Very interestingly, of course, I'm a conservative. Been blatantly honest about that. Whoops, turn that off. And my predictions is basically I think Trump's actually going to play nice on this one. He's going to talk about, of course, the failed policies of the Biden campaign and administration. He's going to talk about how he created a lot of jobs, and Biden's going to say, well, I created more jobs. And, he technically did because of COVID. Trump was getting out when COVID was like still in the middle of the pandemic, whatever. And so Biden's going to say, well, I created jobs, and Trump's going to say, well, I created more, boosted the economy, which he did, put more money in the middle class people's pockets, which is why I think the administration really didn't like Trump. The people didn't really want more people having more money on the bottom, keep the rich rich and keep the poor poor. That's what the Democrat people live by. Not only that, though. But Trump is he did a lot for not only black and African American people, but he did a lot for Latinos as well as just the middle class in general. We can get on that in another video, but he's going to talk about all of that stuff that he did and everything that he's done. And Biden's going to say, well, of course I tried to do this, but they fought me on the Supreme Court on the student loans, and they fought me on getting marijuana decriminalized, even though he was the one who really was like, I don't really care. Especially Kamala. Look up Kamala's history on criminalization of common substances like marijuana and stuff like that. And her conviction rate was like 80% African American, if I believe correctly. But not only that, they're going to talk about the immigration issue, how Biden was like, yeah, or how Trump was like, yeah, everybody said that the wall was so bad and this and that. And now y'all got illegal immigrants coming in so crazy that Biden's trying to finish the wall now, which is wild that's not making the news. And have you ever noticed that you haven't seen any reporters actually going to report on the wall because they're like in fear of their life? Like it's not a joke when they go down to that wall. Like, people need security. Benny Johnson, when he went to visit the wall and then he came back and was about to go again in California, his car got broken into. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy out there. And I think if Trump is funny, which we all know he is, he's probably going to bring up the fact that Trump's Secret Service got robbed, actually, while he was off duty, like in California. Of course, California is like one of the most crime-driven, anti-gun places, which is why I can't really stand California as a state. But yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be interesting how they talking about other people can't broadcast it, which is like, that's the whole point of a debate, so that everybody can see it. What if nobody wants to watch it on CNN? CNN is fighting for that viewership. That's why I think they're trying to get people like independent reporters to not cover it, because they want people to pay or to get those views that they have been missing. CNN has not got no good views since Tucker Carlson has left Fox. I mean, to be honest, that's why Don Lemon got fired. He was a race baiter. And nobody watches CNN anymore like they used to. It doesn't report on good, honest news. It's like Denzel Washington said, people are not looking for reporting the news anymore. They're looking to see who can put out the story first. And I'm paraphrasing here, but that's what he said. He's like, the people don't want the truth. They want to see who can put out the story first. And that's what I think CNN is, even though they say they're supposed to be non-biased and non-political, whatever, they're obviously left-leaning and they're obviously very liberal. And people don't like that anymore. They want their news to be non-biased. They just want people to report the stories. And like, that's one thing Trump did expose. He exposed the hypocrisy of the left. Not only that, but the fake media. Most of these media companies are owned by one big tech organization, one or two. All of them, all the news stations, all the radio stations, they're all owned by the same company, the same one or two companies, which is crazy to me. Anyways, yeah, Trump's going to talk about how he was right about that and he was right about this, and how they took him off. And then, of course, they're going to bring up the January 6th stuff, which is kind of crazy. The January 6th stuff, nobody got hurt except for one person, Ashley Babbitt. She got killed by the police during January 6th. But Joe Biden inspired these riots that were happening. And, not only Joe Biden, but his affiliates in Congress, in the Senate, in office, were encouraging these riots to happen. And people were getting murdered, like police being murdered, businesses being broken down, billions of dollars worth of damage. Like, I can never understand what rioting does rather than protesting, but that's a different story for a different day. Of course, they're going to bring up January 6th. And I hope they bring up BLM, because a lot of people realize BLM was just taking people money. Even Lecrae said in one of his songs, BLM might take your money, buy expensive flights. Like, they really got people money and got up out of there. I don't know who was donating to them, but there's probably obviously a decent amount of people, because they became millionaires. Yeah, they definitely took people money, didn't build no community centers, didn't do nothing. Now, obviously, I get behind the sentiment of Black Lives Matter, like the idea, but the organization, I can't get jiggy with that. Plus, I went to their website, and I don't know if it's still up, but it probably is. They was like, one of their things was promote LGBTQ, which has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. Another one was they want to destroy the nuclear family. Like, why would you want to do that? If you want Black lives to really matter, bring the fathers back into the homes. But that's, like I said, a topic for another story. But I'm like, this is crazy. How does BLM, what do they have to do with the price of China anymore? Like, nobody's falling for this propaganda. Nobody's falling for this anymore. And I think they're going to try to push another event like that before the actual start of the election. Election season is always something happens. It's always something that happens, and it's always some distraction, and then the distraction doesn't work, or it does work a lot of times, and then they start pushing for something else, and then somebody magically gets shot, or somebody's house magically gets raided, or something like that. So I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump actually talks about the weaponization of the ATF as of recently, with all their laws and how their laws are getting struck down. And I wouldn't be surprised if Biden actually counters that with saying, well, these are your appointed Supreme Court nominees that are actually striking down all of my laws. So, I wouldn't be surprised also if Biden blames Trump for everything that's happened while he was in office, saying that you set me up for failure, basically. Even though Trump called, like, I remember when Trump first got out of office, he was like, well, first thing Joe's going to do is cut that pipeline, and then the price of everything's going to go up. And he was right. And it makes sense. The trickling down effect makes sense, because if you think about it, the price of everything is really revolved around oil. Because you have to transport most of the goods to the different places to sell them. So you have to factor that into the price. And that really affects the economy really, 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 really bad. Because if it costs more to fill up, that means you got to charge more to deliver the goods, which means you got to charge more at the stores to recoup the costs. So that really has a big effect on the economy. And the economy, there's no way that Joe can win that. People are starting to see that. Like 4 more years of Joe, nobody wants that. And if you want that, that means you just hate Trump that much, which a lot of people aren't. As you can see from the poll that I'm going to put on the screen, not a lot of people actually want that. And another big thing that I think they're going to talk about is Roe v. Wade. They're probably going to say that Trump somehow is responsible for reversing that. Biden's been fighting it. Biden's been fighting student loan forgiveness, blah, blah. You can't just forgive money. Like, you can't just keep printing money and forgiving money and think that everything's just going to go back to normal. And it's not. That's not how the world works. People have to have consequences for their action. If people take out $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $100,000 loans and then it's just forgiven, they're just going to keep taking them out knowing that they'll be forgiven again. Like, no, you took that loan out. You have to pay that. And this is coming from somebody who went to college and has paid back his student loans. You have to pay for those classes you took. Those teachers have to be paid for the work that they put in to get their degrees, to in turn teach you the skills that you may or may not be using in the workforce. I don't know. I think most jobs are actually functioning without degrees now. So, take with that a grain of salt. But also, I think a big one will be gun control. That, they're going to talk about, well, this happened when you were officer, this blah, blah, blah. Trump actually passed more. The one law that he passed actually just got reversed, the bump stock ban, not too long ago. And I'm going to be making a separate video about that. But Trump's probably going to say, yeah, I never should have passed that law. And then he's going to say, well, Biden did all these executive orders, which didn't have the rule of law, but there weren't laws, but they had the rule of law behind them. They had the effects of law behind them, the consequences of law. So if you broke the rules, which, they have to go through the process of doing, which they didn't do, which obviously the pistol brace rule just got struck down. The bump stock ban just got struck down. The commerce law just got struck down. The selling firearms law just got struck down. These aren't laws, by the way. Sorry, they're rules that had the effect of law, had the force of law behind them. That's what I meant, the force of law. So pretty interesting to see that what they're going to say as far as that goes. And I think this is one of the most important elections of my lifetime. I've never really paid attention to any elections before because we all knew that Obama was going to win, right? But what did Obama really do, right? I mean, as a black person, what did Obama do for us other than show kids that you can be president? I guess that counts for something, right? But let me know who you guys think is going to win. Trump is dominating the polls from all the polls that I've seen and from all the people that I've asked personally in my life. And, as far as CNN releasing these polls saying Biden is up, there's no way that unless he's up in a couple states. Maybe they're doing like state polls and they're releasing that. There's no way that, all the prediction videos that I keep seeing that are updating and updating and updating, they have Trump winning by more and more and more. The most recent one that I seen was like Trump winning by 318 to Biden like 150. Which that sounds about right to me. I think that's actually how it's going to go because he has more supporters and more voters than last time when he won in 2016. He has more support in the swing states, especially, and he won every swing state when he lost. So, take with that with what you will. I'm not going to say nothing about interference or nothing like that. I think that will come up too as well, election interference. I think he will say, what do you think you're going to win? Well, if it's a fair election, I think I will. If it's fair, I think he will say that again. And I think that's going to stir up some controversy. But let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And we got more coming. Stay tuned for more. And peace.